Our next speaker, I am delighted to introduce Mrs. Mina Entezari, former political prisoner in Iran and a human rights activist in exile. We will listen to her remarks shortly.
Hello, everyone. Let me thank you all members of the California Women's Society who worked so hard for this event. And I sincerely appreciate your attention to the situation of women's rights in Iran. First and foremost, I would like to honor all those women who dedicated and sacrificed their lives for freedom and equality. My name is Mina Entezari, a former political prisoner in Iran for 7 years and human rights activist in exile for more than 3 decades. My only so-called crime was participation in the peaceful demonstrations against the ruling mullahs and supporting peace and democracy and human rights in Iran, and also advocating People's Mujahideen Organization or MEK. From the first moments in prison, I witnessed the barbaric treatments of the defenseless prisoners and violations of their most basic rights by the prison guards. Women prison wards were crowded with 3 distinct generations: teenagers, young moms with their kids, and infants and elderly women. I still remember many nights when at times more than 100 prisoners were taken for execution. I can tell you as a witness, there has been no justice in entire mullah's judiciary system from the past till now. During those years, in addition to being physically and psychologically tortured, I witnessed the brutal torture and execution of many young teenage girls, 15, 16, 17 years old, university students, or even elderly women. Eventually, after 7 years of imprisonment, under special circumstances, I was released from the Evin prison in the spring of 1988, and shortly after, I left the country and came to the United States. Consequently, the mullah's security agents arrested my old father and kept him hostage for a few months, demanding my return. Back there in Iraq, a few weeks after my release and departure, the 1988 massacre of the political prisoners began by the Khomeini religious order. During the massacre of summer of 1988, around 30,000 of political prisoners and members of Iranian main opposition movement, MEK, were secretly hanged in prisons. Particularly, it was a genocide of the political prisoners, or in other words, Mullah's Holocaust. I lost all my beloved friends and cellmates in that genocide. This wasn't only a crime against Iranian freedom fighters, but also a crime against humanity. All these years in exile, as a survivor of the 1988 massacre, I have lived every day of my life, remembering those dear fallen friends that I should have gone with them. But I think it was my destiny to be alive, to be here, to be their voice, the voice of innocence, the voice of Iranian women who bravely said no to religious fascism. Of course, this is an ongoing struggle in Iran to achieve freedom and justice for all people, especially of the oppressed women.
I'll do my best. Again,
I should emphasize that if the world had held the Islamic regime accountable for all its crime against humanity. And specifically, the mass executions of summer of 1988. They wouldn't dare to kill more than 1,500 innocent people during last year's uprising. Hereby, I gratefully honor all brave women who participated in the most recent uprising in November 2019, in which hundreds of them lost their lives by Mullah's regime, and thousands more who were arrested and still are in Mullah's prison. Finally, I would like to resound this message from Mrs. Mariam Rajabi and all those brave women that we can and we must stand up and fight for our rights, for freedom, democracy, and equality. Thank you all for the time given.
Thank you so much, Mina. I'm so sorry for everything that you had to endure in prison, but you are indeed a voice for the voiceless, and your sisters are counting on you and Iran, and we appreciate everything that you're doing for them.